Bones are amazing things. They hold us up, they support us, they make us strong. But bones have other uses. In the past, bones were thrown by diviners, seeking out the mysteries of the future. Now the bones are cubes, made of plastic or resin, but they still reveal things to us. As they fall from our fingers and rattle across the table, the story becomes clear. Welcome to Bone Throwers Theater, an RPG actual play podcast.
Welcome to Bone Throwers Theater. This is our commentary edition for the new Star Wars Rise of Skywalker.
And this is Jeremy.
This is Jordan.
This is Jeff.
This is Johnny.
Well, boys, last time a Star Wars movie came out was 2017.
We all saw it together.
We saw it together.
Yes.
Which we recorded a session of Angel's Guard, which I think was the session where the bridges started exploding and the river started exploding.
I don't remember.
Yeah, I can't remember.
But that sounds about like where it would have been.
Yeah. And we got together early that morning, recorded, and then we went to an evening showing of The Last Jedi.
Which we, as a group, all really liked.
As a group, we loved. We walked out of theaters.
And we know a lot of you will disagree with us on that.
Well, I think that's true, but we'll talk about that.
Yes.
Yeah. But so we saw that, and we got really excited about The Last Jedi. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Rise of Skywalker, we were all excited for.
Yeah.
Yes.
Episode 9 was the capstone. It's the big one. So sitting down and seeing it was something that we wanted to do together. Unfortunately, schedules just didn't line up properly. But we all did get an opportunity to see the movie before we came to record today. Opening weekend.
So for the gameplay, we already said we decided to try and take a sort of side story of the movie plot and sort of flesh out some possible scenarios that could have led up to that. And it was fun.
It was a lot of fun.
It was amusing.
Yes.
Oh, I really had a lot of fun cutting loose as a character. Because
it's fun to do that sometimes.
Oh my goodness, yeah. And I feel like I might have gone a little too slapstick with this character, but it's just like, it's completely a pocket universe in and of itself. I can run rampant.
Right.
And
it's a one-shot, so who cares?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I feel like I'm a little bit more of a slapstick player than I am a GM.
Generally,
yeah.
Yes.
And so I
especially when we were playing Star Wars.
Yeah. My Star Wars characters, if I read the list of the Star Wars characters, all of them are wacky in some undescribable manner.
But it makes for a fun game.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I had not thought about any kind of character development before coming in today because we didn't know what we were doing.
We didn't know what we were playing.
Yeah.
We toyed around with playing. Well, we played the Spice Runners. Mm-hmm. Toyed around with playing the band of
former
stormtroopers
that were on the other
horse riders.
We briefly talked about playing the Knights of Ren.
Yeah,
that would have been fun.
Difficult.
It would have been very difficult.
Difficult because
there's supposedly a whole lore about Ren that we just don't know.
Yeah, I mean, so I was doing some spoiler reading about the Knights of Ren on some like comic book resources today. They apparently released a comic book that discussed what the ancient lore of the Knights of Ren are.
Yes, I haven't read it yet. So,
do you want a spoiler?
Oh, doesn't bother me.
Okay, so Ren is the language word like for the organization. It is their special word for lightsaber. So their name literally translates to Knights of Lightsaber.
Then how come only one of them had a lightsaber?
Exactly.
Interesting.
That's the entire point behind the name, Knights of Ren. It's utterly disappointing.
I kind of got from the story that Luke and Kylo Ren both told Rey in the Last Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of got that the kids that Ben didn't kill joined him, and they became the Knights of Ren.
Yeah.
That's what I gathered.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
That's a much better story than what we were given. But that's neither here nor there because that's comics and that's a different
only
level.
Partial canon.
Yeah.
Well, we didn't get much background on the Knights of Ren in any of the films.
No.
Other than
Reference.
there were the Knights of Ren.
Yeah.
And we actually got to see them in the Rise of Skywalker.
I think that's kind of the point of them, though, is just to look badass.
Yeah, and they did.
Yeah.
They did.
They did.
So.
You definitely saw them on screen. You're like, heck yeah, they're so
like-
BA.
I'm like,
I was, but then I was very disappointed in them because one, none of them had lightsabers, and
Well, they didn't have
two,
lightsabers, and their weapons weren't variations of lightsabers.
they looked like a medieval mafia.
Kinda.
what's wrong with that?
Their weapons
Like a
were
medieval
still
shakedown
lawful.
gang.
Yes. It would have been fine if it was a medieval setting, but
It would have been great if one of them had a pitchfork. So anyway, Knights of Ren, we were glad to see them because they looked pretty cool for what they were.
yes.
I think overall, a lot of my issues with the Rise of Skywalker really falls into like one major category. It's like we were not given enough information for the story to really hold together.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah, it felt like they built it up for one more after.
Uh-huh.
Like they should have done another one. They not that they
Not
could
one
do
after,
another
but one
right
in
now.
the middle of.
Yeah.
Is what it felt like to me.
Yeah.
It felt like
This movie should have been split up into multiple movies.
Like there were a lot of like little tidbits that they threw in that you're like, oh, now I want an answer to that,
Yeah.
Yeah.
or now I want an answer
Like
to that.
like what? I'm just
like-
curious.
Like, what does Finn want to say to Rey?
Yeah.
Even
Even more elemental, how did Palpatine
how did Palpatine
get
come back
to
life?
Exogen?
Yeah, how did he survive?
How did he survive the fall? How did he get to Exogen? How did he turn an entire cult of people into
His followers.
into his followers, and then build a fleet of ships? Like nothing about the Final Order made any kind of cogent, logical sense in my mind. It looked great. It looked really cool.
Stunning.
Yeah.
But from a story perspective, I just could not see how it fit together.
So, from a movie perspective, I didn't care. I loved it.
hugely care
I
about
thought
that
it was.
kind
Here's
I
the
thought it
thing,
was
though.
awesome.
And this could be just be me, but background a little bit. Before I saw earlier this week, I went on my Facebook account and said, "Bye, Facebook.
Yeah.
I'm not checking you until after I see the movie because I didn't want to hear anything.
You're going to have so many alerts when you go back.
I didn't want to hear anything." And I saw this morning, just from the brief period of being back online, I'm already done with trying to listen to people's comments on the movie.
Oh, yeah.
And all this to say, this could just be me. There's two areas where, and I halfway didn't want to do this commentary episode because I'm getting so peeved at these two areas.
Yeah.
Number one is everybody's complaining about the science and how it doesn't
See, that drives me
work.
nuts.
And I'm like, okay, you're watching a movie,
Oh, yeah.
a fictional movie set in a fictional galaxy, and you're complaining that the science, real world science, doesn't add up.
I
See,
agree.
For me,
Okay.
my complaint is more about the fact that they completely altered what the science that was previously set.
And that brings me to my second point. And it may be just we're so used to how we build worlds and build a story that we see all the details behind it.
Yeah.
Not everything in a movie is going to happen on screen.
Oh, yeah.
Not
Right,
everything
right.
in a
I
movie
totally
is going
get
to
that.
be fully explained.
I hope-
Why this changed over the past 20
Yeah,
years.
right.
So when people say, well, that's not the way it was in the last movie, and I was like,
I don't.
time has passed and we don't see what has happened.
Well,
Yeah.
I agree.
Really, if we want to see everything that has happened, you don't want to watch a 2-hour movie. You want to watch a 18-hour documentary.
and you're not
Go
wrong
live
on
there.
that.
Yeah.
Go live there.
Yeah, I agree. It's
So I think my point though is that if you're going to have a movie that says that it's going to wrap everything together, it needs some more time to breathe and some more time for information to come together in a better.
Especially nowadays,
It was really
could have been.
fast-paced.
It could have been another 40 minutes.
Oh, it could.
And people would sit through a 3-hour Star Wars movie.
I would have.
Yes.
I would have sat
I
through
mean,
yes,
6
they
hours
could.
Star Wars.
They could have increased the
I
running
did this past
time
week.
and fleshed out some of that, but they did.
But then there's been movies like that where people complain is like, well, you had to spend 40 minutes of screen time explaining the stuff that you're doing
yes,
in the
they
movie.
really
Yeah.
did
And I was like,
Yeah.
you're not going to get one
See-
way or the other.
Or the other.
But here, with some of the stuff that I think from what we've talked about, that people are questioning, like, oh, what was Finn going to say to Rey?
It's not
There
that
are-
important.
Well, it's
Yeah.
not that important, but there are certain hints in the movie that where you could draw a conclusion about what was going to be said. It wasn't totally, well, that was out of nowhere.
Well,
I had no idea what he was going to say.
That's where I told you how I would have changed the ending of the movie. In the movie with Rey training Finn.
Yeah. Because
they definitely hinted throughout.
Well, they hinted that he was force sensitive, but for me, I didn't think that's what he was going to say. Yeah. I thought he was going to drop the bomb to her that he knew that she was a Palpatine. Because they said somewhere in there that, I think it was Finn that said it, said, oh yeah, I know, and also Leia knows as well.
Yeah, see, I hated that part. that segment of line, I hated that line. Because when Luke saw first met her, I was like, who are you?
Right.
He had no clue who she was.
Well, Luke, yeah.
But then in this one, he said that, I knew you were Palpatine's granddaughter, and so did Leia. So,
I think that part of the issue is that sometimes when you have to strike a balance, right? You have to tell a story in a way that keeps the action moving, and you have to tell a story in a way that gets some information across. Yeah. For me, I think that what Finn was going to say to her at that point, it was just awkwardly timed.
It was,
yeah.
The timing of it was like an "I love you" moment,
right? Exactly,
and that's where I thought it was going.
Yeah.
Well,
that's where Poe thought it was going.
Yeah, that's because Poe kept on bugging him about it for the rest of the movie.
He did. He kept
kind of teasing about it.
Uh-huh.
The third wheel, kind of like,
I
don't want to be a third wheel.
Yeah, I don't. Let's just figure out where this whole thing is going. I thought that overall the movie was gorgeous to look at.
Oh, definitely.
Oh yeah.
It was a lot of fun.
Much fun.
The acting was well done in it.
Acting was well done. I think that the biggest issues is that, how do I put this? It's just like a little more running time. And I know it was a long movie already. Because it was at least 2.5 hours.
Because there are other scenes that I think that they definitely dragged on way too long.
Yeah, I think there are scenes they left dragging too long, and I think there's scenes they left out that they should have put in.
Yeah.
Right. I just think that they treated the whole movie like a climax of an entire piece, rather than letting the movie grow in some way. I said this before off mic, that it felt like it was one long lightsaber fight broken up by some car chases.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that approach to storytelling. It's just different how we do it. And I think that one of my problems is that I'm imposing my own philosophies on what storytelling should be.
We tend to do one long car chase, broken up by little lightsaber fights.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a good. Well,
yes, we do.
I feel like we do a lot of heavy character lifting around this table, because I do view role-playing as collaborative storytelling, right? Movies are not collaborative storytelling,
which is, I think, is the issue, and that's what I thought the issue was before The Last Jedi. Is everybody had their own theories and their own things about what they wanted to see, and this is the way the story should be.
Yeah. All your Snoke theories are wrong.
And then when it didn't line up with what anybody thought, everybody's like, "Oh, this is an awful movie."
And to me, that made it that much better.
Yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, I think, in general, most movies I cannot stand to read any commentary on.
Yeah.
Because, one, I think, and this is more commentary on today's culture, that
Internet killed the Hollywood star?
Exactly. The internet did kill the Hollywood star, because everybody has their own opinion about something, and their opinion, it has to be right. And then, also, to be somebody, like, on the internet, you have to totally trash something.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
If you're not trashing something, no one takes notice at you.
Yep.
And you have to be extremely vocal about it. And it's not just like, I didn't like that. It's got to be like, to quote the worst Star Wars movie ever.
Right.
Yeah.
That was
you have to say something extreme, and you have to say it in an extreme way.
Yes.
And then everybody takes notice of that person. It's almost like subconsciously, it's more about getting people to notice you than actually giving a
honest opinion,
accurate commentary on a piece of
Fiction Family
art.
Have you heard you've heard the band Fiction Family?
Yes.
I'm assuming, because
John
Foreman is one of your favorite musicians of all time.
Yeah.
They have this fantastic song on their second album. Their second album is gold all the way through, but there's this one song called "Put Your God Badge Down," and it's basically saying to the audience, which, assumedly, because Switchfoot tends to play in contemporary Christian music circles. It's saying, put your God badge down and love someone. It's not about being right or wrong. And I feel like that's kind of the sentiment that you're trying to say, but not about a religious perspective, but about like how do we approach what we enjoy and build bridges with it rather than try and say that I'm the person who's right about the issue.
You know, especially like with Star Wars movies, the way people trash things and completely insult everything about it, it ruins it for not just fans, but also for the people starring in the movies.
Right. Oh, yeah.
I mean, look at, what's her name?
Kelly Tran.
Kelly Tran.
Yeah.
Because of the backlash she received for being a decent actress, she got almost no screen time in this one.
Yeah.
By no means can you have to have no opinion.
Yeah.
But you can have an opinion and be respectful at the same time.
Yes.
I know that Aaron and I disagree on several major issues.
Yeah.
But we...
Like, who's better looking?
Well, I mean, ladies prefer blonde. Blonde hair, blue eyes. I win every time. But they also like a man in uniform, which you were for a while. So, you know, there's pros and cons to any discussion. And a lot of times we have to remember that especially when it comes to fandom, it's not objective.
Yeah.
It's qualitative.
Everything,
Everything comes down to taste.
I'm not saying that those people aren't entitled to their opinion. It's just
stop being so nasty about it.
Right.
Yeah.
And
It's just so nasty and so divisive rather than say, well, this is what I enjoyed. This is what I didn't enjoy. It's like, no, this has to be declared the worst movie ever. And anybody that does enjoy it kind of feels like they have to be like, okay, I'm not going to talk to this person.
I mean, even among Star Wars in this group, all of us, our rankings of each movie is completely different.
Yeah, very much so.
Right. You know?
Like, I'll be honest, even with kind of bashing Solo every once in a while, I think that Attack of the Clones is the worst Star Wars movie.
Depends on... Now, see, here's where we're getting discussion. It depends on what aspect of the film you're looking at. If you're looking at dialogue, yes. Attack of the Clones is the worst.
So bad.
In my opinion.
Yeah,
but
oh my gosh.
Acting, it was worse in...
Phantom Menace.
Yes.
But Phantom Menace had a much better story.
Yes.
So that's the thing, is that I appreciate the prequel trilogy because I think that it actually has a very fascinating story.
Oh, yeah. It does.
But the nuance behind the story is completely blown away by some of the poor directing choices and the poor technology choices.
Then Phantom Menace also has probably one of the greatest musical scores, and also one of the greatest lightsaber battles.
Oh yeah.
It's like, how do you say that's definitively the worst movie when you're pulling two things that are probably at the top?
That's why
the Star Wars franchise.
Everybody has to have their own ranking.
Yeah,
so we're gonna have to start ranking scene by scene.
Rank scenes,
Oh my goodness, I can do that.
Speaking of ranking scenes, I want to throw this one out there. My opinion: the scene where they brought the memory of Han Solo back.
That was
Kylo Ren.
So perfect.
I wasn't expecting that at all.
Scene punched me in the soul.
Yeah,
just
that was
because
so
of
perfect.
For decades it has been the joke. I know, and they've thrown that into other movies. Where it's a joke. But they used that as a moment that was so powerful.
Yes.
When Ben was getting choked up and he wanted to say that to Han Solo and he just says, Dad, and just Han Solo's just like, I know. I was just like, oh, boom. Yes. Oh my gosh, so powerful. Yeah. That was excellent.
It was. I mean, at the same time, it brought back the line that Kylo Ren said to Han right before he killed him.
Yes, I like that. That came back around.
I know what I need to do, but I don't know if I have the strength to do it.
Yeah.
Yes.
And the first time Han said, let me help you.
Yeah.
And I've said from the very beginning of that, I'm convinced that Han is actually the one who turned the lightsaber on himself.
Because they never showed it happened.
But what they did show is that as soon as Han put his hand on there was some resistance.
Yes.
Like there was a subtle struggle over what was going to happen with that lightsaber.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So
the reason I think he did it because Han knew that that was the only way there was any hope of redemption for Kylo.
Yeah,
to realize that there's some kind of consequence.
Yes. See, I don't think that.
I think that's
my fan theory.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, headcanon goes all over the place. But my personal opinion on that's the bridge scene in The Force Awakens was that Kylo Ren was using his father's emotions to draw him into the trap.
Yeah.
And then he got him close enough to kill him without his father ever seeing it coming. So I think that it can go either way, and I think your theory is a little bit less. Yours is a little less nihilistic than mine.
That's the way I like to look at movies, is in a happy light. So
yeah.
You say happy. There's nothing happy about that kind of moment.
No.
well,
Even if
it's
well,
because it's a hope of redemption.
And
Yes.
it's the idea of self-sacrifice to bring somebody from the brink, which is the entire point of the Return of the Jedi.
Exactly.
And the entire point of since we're going to talk about this, we're Leia.
Yeah.
Right? Is that what you're about to bring up?
Well, I was going to bring that up too, but there was a point in the Rise of Skywalker. Rey is standing there before Palpatine. And the thought crossed my mind when he's like, "Go ahead and make the sacrifice," and she pulled her lightsaber. I was like, "Is she going to kill herself?"
Yeah, I thought that for a second.
I was like, "Oh my gosh, is she going to kill herself to make that not even pop?"
Through my head.
I was like, "Oh my goodness!"
Yeah, that would have been.
Yeah,
I don't see how
that would have done anything.
Well, no, I mean, that would have been
It would have done a lot, because basically what Palpatine wanted to do, this is my understanding of it, and you might correct me, those who have seen it more recently or more
multiple times.
Yeah, but my understanding was that if she turned to the dark side, Palpatine was going to transfer his life force into her body.
Yes. That's exactly what he said.
Yeah. So by killing herself, she would have prevented him from being able to do that.
And his only other choice would have been Kylo Ren.
But she still would have been herself, because he goes, "I will be in you, or you will just as all the
we will be
previous
one.
Sith are in me."
Yes.
So that's what I got the impression that he was going to add combined power into. Her.
Yeah, I mean
that it wasn't
it's
taking over, but it was a.
But it was all intentionally dark side.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
but then again, that brings up the question of what does the rule of two actually mean?
Yeah,
So-
that's
so-
I didn't like all the Furious Siths or anything. I didn't like that.
Yeah, because I thought that was more referring to the title of Dark Lord of the Sith passing from one Sith to another.
Exactly.
Rather than like taking their spirits.
Exactly, because that
yeah, and then we're getting to other levels of canon.
again, it's
yeah,
Abrams' mythos versus previous mythos.
I mean, I do like it because it contrasted the line that was set up in close to the beginning of the movie of Rey when she's sort of meditating.
Yeah.
And she's saying,
Be with
me.
Which,
and I like the contrast in that aspect of Sidious Palpatine saying, "I am the Sith. I am all the Sith." With the thought that he is actually attempting to make all that power his and his alone. And then the way it happened with Rey when she's at the end of the movie saying, "Be with me," you heard all the individual voices. So it was all the Jedi, but they were still their own personality. They were still their own
I think that's a
influence.
difference between light side versus dark side.
Right.
Which, that's what I'm saying. I really like that contrast of, yes, Sidious Palpatine is pulling all the power of the Sith, but he's claiming it as his own.
Yeah.
And Rey was getting the influence of all the Jedi before her, but
it was still theirs.
It was still the Jedi collective.
Helping her.
Yeah.
Well, and that kind of, I was expecting Luke to have a more prominent role in the movie for that very reason. Because I was thinking that he would be like Obi-Wan in the original trilogy, who kept on coming to Luke and giving him information throughout the films, and training him. So I was thinking that Luke was going to train her beyond the grave, rather than Leia training. Again, expectations being different.
I kind of like that they did have Leia training her because that gave them the chance to explain.
It wasn't what I expected, but I did like
it. She was trained by Luke.
And I do,
because I don't remember that being discussed much in the
it wasn't discussed at all.
I do absolutely love, how short it was, that short little flashback scene of Luke and Leia training.
That was, I loved that.
That was good.
That was the most effective use of Leia in the entire movie.
That was outstanding.
Yeah.
And then back to the
Leia
self-sacrificing thing.
Some of us feel like it would have been better if, rather than having Carrie Fisher in the movie at all, they had just scrolling in the
opening scroll
with the death of General Leia and leave her out, because the scenes were edited funny.
Yeah, it was kind of obvious that the lines were fed to the people to
were like
match
forced,
what she was saying.
Yes.
They were forced, to match what she had, what lines she had already had, and they were very generic.
See, I didn't go in looking for that. I
didn't.
I didn't want to
I
look
didn't
for that,
look
so I didn't pick up on that.
See, so for me, it was the first 15 minutes of the movie when she was there. I completely forgot that she was dead before they filmed it.
Yeah.
But
I
after
forgot
that first few scenes with her, the last few scenes with her, I'm like, so forced. Like, you can tell they just put her in there.
Yeah.
With everything else.
See, I forgot the entire time through. It wasn't until afterwards that I read something, and then I was like, oh yeah.
Why I didn't forget it.
But so then I think that it's a disservice to her memory to use cut and edited snippets and throw it in there.
I don't feel that.
Rather than just
I think they
honor
just
the
could have
fact
done it a
that-
little bit better.
The only issue with that is, well, let me say this first, and then we can go back and talk about the actual act of that self-sacrifice. The only issue that I had with that was in the trailer they used her speech to say "always" at the end. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
The Force will be with you, and
Always,
as
yeah.
Luke said that, and then Leia said "always." They use Luke's "always" in the movie.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, come on, you should have used Leia's. When that line came, I was like, here it comes, here it comes, here it comes. Oh, that was Luke.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Well, see, and you can tell, like, with the scene where Han was talking to Kylo, and this one, that you can tell that was where they had planned for
especially with
Leia to die.
Like the setup where Kylo could not destroy the bridge of the ship. Another TIE fighter had to shoot out the bridge in The Last Jedi.
Which is why I thought that not doing what Aaron suggested, just saying that she was dead at the beginning of the movie, why that she needed to be there because of that whole redemption factor with Kylo. And you do that and you set that scene with Leia, I don't think it would have been as powerful with Kylo and Leia as it was with Kylo and Han.
It would have been a completely different feel.
I don't think it would have been as powerful.
I don't know if it would have been as powerful, but it would have been a completely different feel.
Because you get the junction of both of them being involved with that redemption process.
And after I watched it the second time, what I was thinking was, and part of it is because I read articles like, how she died by just calling out to him. And like, how could she? Luke died after he sent his Force image across the entire galaxy. She died just from calling out to him, is what the article said. And that got me thinking. I'm like, well, what if it was more than her calling out to him? What was her actually calling that image for him to see?
Yeah, that's a good point.
And that is what drained her. Her calling out the memory of Han to him.
Because that was what I was thinking too, was that somehow she was affecting the Force around Ben.
Yeah.
Like, either like influencing...
but one other thing was...
Right, she's affecting the Force. If you notice, as we saw in Return of the Jedi, when Yoda passed, his body disappeared. And then you saw
her body
Ben's body disappeared. And then Leia's disappeared.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think she
wasn't really dead.
Gone. She was gone, but her power was physically.
Yeah, she wasn't truly dead then.
Yeah,
in what he was doing.
Now, part of this is wildly. We would not have the same movie if Carrie Fisher had lived to film.
Oh no, a completely different movie.
And I think that we do have to kind of assuage ourselves with the knowledge that it would have probably been better if she had been alive, but they did what they could.
Yeah, I agree.
I feel like it's such an adrenaline rush of a movie that the time that was needed to even process her death was really hard. So some people were complaining that Chewie didn't get a mourning scene for Han,
and they gave one specifically for Leia.
But I thought that was so fitting because, like, to see Han, like, see Chewie going, I completely lost everything that's behind.
And there's a difference too of how they happen. Chewie was there for the death of Han. You were going to react differently if you were there. And I love Chewie's response. He just goes like, just starts shooting, lighting things up, and just like, that's how you're going to act in the moment. And then, you find out later on that someone that has died. That's the type of response that you have. And I thought that scene was, even though there's articles that say that was put in there as just like
fan service.
It's like, hey, you guys wanted this, so here it is. It was like
I thought it was fitting.
I thought honestly, Aaron said there's a moment in here where he was starting to tear up.
Oh,
that moment I was like,
Oh my God.
there it comes.
Talking about Chewbacca and tearing up, I about had a heart attack when that shuttle exploded.
I did too. I did too.
We had that conversation.
I did too. I was like, oh my gosh.
Like, they can't kill Chewie already?
See,
And that's when that happened. That's when in the moment in the movie I was like, oh, they're going to reveal something very, very dark about Rey.
Yeah.
Very dark about Rey.
If anything is going to send you to dance on the dark side, it's accidentally killing a friend.
Yeah.
Well, not just accidentally
Oh, yeah.
killing a friend. Before then, we have not, on screen, not seen any Jedi, light side, use Force Lightning.
no.
You saw Yoda control
Yes.
Force Lightning.
Well,
Exactly.
and also Poe Kloon can you actually use Force
Yes.
Lightning?
In Clone Wars, he did.
Yeah.
Not in the major movies.
Not in
the
major
major
movies,
movies,
but...
Yeah.
But it is a dark side power.
Well, I don't think that it is a dark side power because you can use lightning to power an electrical battery.
Yeah.
Again, I don't think there's any such thing as a dark side or light side force power. I think it is how the power is used and the intention behind it.
No, there are some strictly dark side powers.
Like bringing yourself back from the dead.
Well, like the one that this was one power they showed Palpatine using, which has actually been in the role-playing canon for ages.
Yeah.
Is suck life.
Yes.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Mm-hmm.
But even then, you could use suck life
There you
in a non-dark side manner. What if you're trying to heal something and you have a whole botanical garden set up specifically to draw the force from?
Yeah. Anyway,
You
back
like-
to this self-sacrifice thing. Another reason I like it is because if you look at the major character Jedi, almost all of them have decided to do an act that ended their life in that way.
Oh, yeah.
Obi-Wan Kenobi
Uh-huh.
decided he's going to not actually get killed by Vader, but just
sacrifices.
sacrifice his body. In The Last Jedi, Luke projecting himself halfway across the galaxy, knowing that was going to totally drain him of whatever. Leia doing it for Ben, and then I think in turn Ben doing it for Rey
Right.
at the end of the movie.
Yeah,
only-
bringing her back to life.
Yeah.
The only one
Using
who
his
does it
own.
is Qui-Gon Jinn. Because Qui-Gon Jinn is cut down in battle. He didn't see it coming and he didn't see it as a...
Yeah.
But also
I
his
still don't
death-
view him as like a main, even though he was a big Jedi in the prequels. I don't see. I mean, you're talking about Obi-Wan Kenobi, Luke Skywalker, and Leia. It's like, well, those are more major characters than Qui-Gon Jinn.
Then there's also there's a question that I've seen asked several times. Did Anakin Skywalker's body disappear at the end of Return of the Jedi, or did his armor be burned, or did he completely get burned himself?
That's
question.
true.
Because he does appear as a
They never
Force
showed
ghost.
it. They never showed it.
Yeah.
But he does appear as a Force ghost.
But the prequels also allude to Qui-Gon being able to appear as a Force ghost.
Because Qui-Gon is the one who discovers the ability.
He learned how to do it, and he taught it to Yoda.
Yes.
And Yoda taught it to Obi-Wan, and presumably Obi-Wan taught it to Luke. Or Yoda talked to Luke, because it could have been either one of them, honestly.
But the fact that Luke then chooses to pass that to Ben...
Yeah, that surprised me. Is like
really...
Because you would think that would be a later on training thing, not an early training thing.
But he is part of a dyad of the Force, I think is the word.
Now,
Dyad.
is that what you were
I liked
those scenes where they ended up in, and this is one thing I really liked about the movie, where they ended up in two places at once. Are you considering that the same power as a Force ghost?
That's not what I got.
No. Like I was talking about when Ben let go of his material body.
Oh, okay.
Because that is part of the moving on to becoming a Force ghost.
Yeah. Or is it?
I mean, I don't think it's actually. I don't want to tie those two together because it didn't happen for Qui-Gon that way. I mean,
again, Qui-Gon is
Obi-Wan had happened for that way. Yoda had happened for that way. We don't see it happening for Anakin Skywalker that way.
And that's the question.
We do see it for Luke. We do see it for Leia.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, don't know.
I like the dyad thing.
The
where
dyad.
They were like connected to each other, and it just kept getting stronger and stronger until they were able to use it to their advantage at the end.
So I watched every movie in the franchise like shotgun style over the past 2 weeks.
Yeah,
me too.
Especially, I watched Return of the Jedi, The Force Awakens, and The Last Jedi all on the same day.
Oh, gosh.
The day before, yesterday.
Yeah.
Before watching The Rise of Skywalker. And I was saying before, watching the new trilogy back to back to back, it makes so much more sense. Even though, I mean, written, directed by 2 different people, 3 different styles, because you had one person had to change their style in order to fit the second one. It still makes a whole lot of sense to me, especially the diode part. Because that was one of the complaints I heard a lot about The Force Awakens.
Yeah.
Is like, how in the world are Kylo Ren and Rey so connected?
Mm-hmm.
And you kind of got a glimpse of that as, what's his face?
Johnson.
Johnson. His attempt to explain that was saying that Snoke was the one that set that connection up. But then watching them back to back to back like that connection was even there.
There was some weird stuff going on.
Weird stuff even before, at the first mention of Rey to Kylo.
Yes.
It was like
very emotional.
It was like, why is this girl so important to him? Just some random girl. But then seeing that arc sort of develop
into the
across
Skywalker.
the 3 movies.
Yeah.
Whoever was in charge of making that tie together work well, I thought that worked.
Yeah,
well,
I think
excellently.
Like it did make sense that Snoke created the bond, but it wasn't the bond between the 2 of them. It was the bond for them to communicate between the 2 of them.
Right.
Basically, he opened the conduit.
Exactly.
And it continued.
And like
he's like, there's this tension that's already there.
I'm sitting here looking through the role playing book of force powers, and one of them is life bond.
Which makes sense with the dyad.
Yeah.
I love those scenes, how they were in 2 places at one time.
It was visually stunning.
It was.
Yeah.
And certain parts of the setting would end up randomly in the other...
Oh, that when their lightsaber battle, that was
lightsaber,
like the stones. And
yeah.
Oh, that's where you are.
Yes.
I'll be right there.
But then if you notice,
good.
the stuff didn't actually transfer. It was just the image transferred.
Yeah.
Because those red stones were not in the ship.
When the bond was broken.
Yeah, when the bond was broken.
It was a latent...
It wasn't until later that they were able to pass things physically between...
It wasn't until they were with...
I like that, too. When they were consciously trying... They were working together at that point.
Yeah.
I was watching
I like
The
that
Last
part.
Jedi last night, and the scene where they're talking in the rain by the Falcon,
The water.
and the water on his glove. He's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
it must have been raining, because they specifically show the water
they
on
did.
his glove.
So it wasn't the first time they transferred, but it's...
At the very beginning of their connections, too, Kylo says, "Can you see my surroundings? Because I can just see you."
Yeah.
Yeah. And that continues on through the rest of the story. And people say that, oh my gosh. So just to talk about the first 2 movies of the sequel trilogy, people say that what Rian Johnson did was completely out of left field for everything that...
They just say it because it didn't go with their theories.
What they wanted. But if you look at it, everything that happened in The Last Jedi logically follows from where The Force Awakens left off.
Yes.
Han tells Finn and Rey that Luke left because of a failed student, and he went off to be alone and find the first Jedi Temple. And that's exactly where they find him in the end of the movie. He feels awful that he failed. He's gone off to be alone at the first Jedi Temple.
Mm-hmm.
Luke's entire story is laid out in The Force Awakens, and then it follows through. The only thing that they don't like is that he refuses to...
He was a hermitish.
Yeah, Jedi deserve to die.
Yeah. What do you expect from someone who feels like they're an abject failure in their life? But to violently turn away from everything.
And this is why The Last Jedi, I think the secondary story underneath everything was about Luke's redemption.
Oh,
yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It was.
Yeah. And you can see that in this one. So, again, going off of complaints, but I think it's the flip side. So, in Last Jedi, Luke does not treat the lightsaber with respect.
No.
He throws it away at some point.
Yeah.
And then
But so
as
in
a
this
joke,
one,
he says you shouldn't treat the Jedi's weapons so poorly.
Yeah. And so a lot of people say that that's not who Luke was, but it's if you're going to follow that redemption arc, that's who Luke has become again.
And that's what The Last Jedi was a redemption arc.
Yeah, he's come back to that place of, being a Jedi and treat this with
Exactly.
respect. And it's not a complete 180 of character. This is development.
It wasn't until he had to face Rey that he knew he had to actually come back into the Force.
Yeah.
And, you look at what he was doing to project. He didn't have a dyad. He didn't have that tether to put a mental image.
That was
far
like the
away.
most impressive Force power I've ever seen.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
So the scene that to me is the climax of the entire series is on Return of the Jedi when Luke throws away his lightsaber and says, "I am a Jedi like my father before me."
Yeah.
Because he is rejecting the violence of both the Jedi and the Sith in order to redeem one person.
Yeah.
And after that happened, except for the one time when he failed, he never activated a lightsaber out of offensive action ever again.
Yeah.
You only ever see him use a lightsaber in defense, and you don't even see him take a swing at Kylo Ren as a Force projection.
Yeah, he doesn't take a swing at him, and it's
that was part of the misdirect.
Yeah,
of that scene,
and
right?
Also part of it, which that's one thing I didn't like about Rise of Skywalker was in Last Jedi, the lightsaber that Rey had was destroyed.
Yeah.
So when she was training with Luke's lightsaber, it should have been Luke's green lightsaber.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the one that I thought she was getting when they handed her package.
I did too.
Yeah, and so when it was Leia's lightsaber, I was like, oh.
But yeah, I think
intriguing.
when she was training with Luke's lightsaber, it should have been the green one.
I think so too.
That she went back to Octu and...
I loved the gold lightsaber.
Oh, the gold lightsaber.
Yeah, at the end.
Gorgeous.
Do we know that Luke ever retrieved his green lightsaber?
That's the one he had at the end of Return of the Jedi was the green one.
Did he have that on his belt?
But did he retrieve it after he threw it away?
Yeah, that's a question I don't.
I didn't watch it that closely.
I didn't.
But he did have the green lightsaber in the Last Jedi. That's the lightsaber he used when he was in the
flashback to Kylo.
Yeah,
he had the green lightsaber then. So
yeah,
unless he
he also had the green lightsaber when he was training Leia.
Yeah,
true. He could have built another one. I mean,
yeah.
At that point,
but either way, the blue one that Rey had was destroyed
and had to be completely rebuilt for her to train.
Yeah,
with it.
It's just a small thing that I think they should have done differently.
I mean, who's to say that Leia couldn't have built another lightsaber or taught Rey how to do it?
Yeah, like I said, it's a small thing. It was just that they said it's Luke's lightsaber, so I'm like,
and she also,
it should have been the green one.
Rey has all the books, so obviously she has. Assumedly, there's things about.
She has
right. I like how the small point, but I like how they brought those used those books.
Yes.
In there.
Well, I was interested to see that at least one of the books was not one of the ancient Jedi texts.
Yeah,
it was Luke's journal.
Oh yeah.
Let's talk about Finn for a moment. I liked Finn's story of finding other
former
stormtroopers, but I felt like it was not served well by keeping him tied with Poe and Rey for the entire story. If he had heard a rumor and then been able to go off and have a quest of his own, I feel like it would have provided a little bit more structural.
So like his side quest with Rose.
Yeah, I think it would have strengthened the movie because, like we were saying, it felt like there was a lot of action in the movie, and so jumping from one character to another always provides.
In a way, I agree with you. It could have strengthened the movie, but at the same time, they already put so much into this that it also would have taken away from what they already have.
Yeah, I had no problem with Finn being there with the whole entire crew the entire time. I thought it was. There's one moment, I'm trying to remember exactly what it was. I thought it was like, man, Finn's character has grown so much. Yes. Oh, it was when they were arguing on those planes right outside the sea, right across from the Death Star. They were arguing about something. Said something about Leia, and then Poe's like, well...
Yeah, he said...
It's like, well, I'm not Leia.
Yeah, because Poe says, and you understand what she's going through? He's like, yeah, I do. And so does Leia.
Oh, see, yeah, that's where it came from.
Yeah.
That's where it came from. Yes.
Because it's the Force.
And she's like...
she's struggling with the dark side.
It's like, well, I'm not Leia. And then he snapped back. He's like, you got that right. I was just like, yep, okay, yes, Finn has gone there.
Yeah.
Also, it would have been really nice to see a little bit more solid confirmation. Like you said, that Rey was training Finn at the
I would have loved that at the end of the movie. Instead of having the old lady who said, who are you?
Have Finn standing there saying, okay, time to train.
Yeah.
I thought actually where the movie ended at the Tatooine Skywalker Ranch
I like that.
was
Oh,
really
that was
amazing.
very good.
And that to me was like, oh, this is the perfect place to actually start a new Jedi school.
Yeah.
The settings, that's probably of the franchise the most iconic
That's the
setting.
iconic setting.
Yeah, you
So-
can't not recognize it when it shows up.
She landed there. I was like, hey,
I know that place.
there's gonna be some blue milk down there.
Let's go to
That's what I said. It's gonna be some spoiled milk.
Blue cheese.
All right, guys. It is late o'clock.
Yeah,
And once again, surprisingly.
We could easily go on for another 2 or 3 hours talking about this.
Yes, we could. I could talk about Star Wars like nonstop.
We have.
we didn't even really talk about our playing Star Wars. We just talked
No.
about the movie, and it was
We
fantastic.
used playing Star Wars as
As
a
an
segue
excuse
to talk about the movie.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
that's what we did.
So if you have any comments about our gameplay,
Yeah,
please
please
share
let us
with
know.
us.
Also, if you want to see more verpines or more insect species in general in our role playing, please let me know because there are always stories about bees out there.
Nope.
The story about the guy who got a bee hive registered to him as an emotional support animal.
So what does he do? Does he? I mean,
I don't-
Does he actually carry the hive with him?
I think
It's
the hive just kind of stays
More
where it's
argument
supposed
for
to
why
be.
there should not be support animals as a medical excuse.
Oh, well,
I understand that they are supportive
Yeah.
for you emotionally.
but there
But-
should be more training required and
Yes.
more regulation of
Yes.
the process. I think is kind of his point in the whole thing. But the fact that it's a swarm of bees is just awesome.
No, it is not. Gosh.
All
Oh
right,
my
folks.
Yep.
We're going to go ahead and close it off here. Thank you so much for listening. If you like our Star Wars theories, please let us know. If you think that our Star Wars theories are bunk, let us know, but please do so with a little bit of respect. It's sometimes hard to remember that people on the internet are other people and not just bots from Russia generating things to make us angry at the world.
It's got to be Russia.
Well, because, I just made a political statement.
Bots from Antarctica.
It's from Flatland.
Flatlandia.
Yeah. So anyway,
This land.
please remember. Yes, and we never even once mentioned K2SO tonight, which is K2SO is probably one of the best droids.
Oh yeah.
If you want to go ahead and talk to us about Star Wars, please hit us up on bonethrowerstheater.com, our Facebook group, Twitter, anywhere you can find us. Let us know your Star Wars opinions and tell us how we need to improve ours. Right? All right. Thank you so much. Thank you for listening to Bone Throwers Theater. Our cast is Aaron, Jeff, Jeremy, Johnny, and Jordan. We are releasing this podcast under a Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, No Derivatives 3.0 Unported license. That means that you can share the podcast, but please do not modify it or try to gain financially from it. If you would like to visit our website, you can do so at bonethrowerstheater.com. If you would like to send us an email, you can do so at bonethrowerstheater@gmail.com. Our Twitter handle is @bonethrowerstheater, and also you can look us up on Facebook. And until next time, may the bones fall ever in your favor. This has been a Nerd Circle podcast production.